It is good to be back. Back with another installment of Die on This Hill. My buddy David Hastings. How you doing, Dave?
Oh, considering I know where some of this experience is going to go, I'm somewhat good and somewhat just miserably depressed. But you would think I'd be used to it by now. So I'm trying to cope and move on with my life as I can.
It was a rough week for you. I got to be honest. This was a game lock. It should have been an absolute slam dunk. The record at home, 16-0 over the last 16. I mean, everything going in their direction. Come back from Philly being, starting the season 10-1, looking like they're running away with the division. Come back, win the division, get the 2 seed. Get what could be multiple home games in the playoffs.
Oh, no, it's a guaranteed 2 home games. It's a guarantee. If they won, guaranteed 2 home games.
Home games. And then anything could have happened. You could have ended up with an NFC championship game there, too. This is, to me, a collapse of epic proportions. This is one that, I was talking a little bit with Fife the other night, that, got to cost McCarthy his job. Yeah, people were calling for it at halftime. I mean, it was an embarrassment. And yeah, I'm going to give you a minute here with this game, but then, we'll keep it moving. I'm not going to dwell on it for you, but this has got to be an absolute soul crusher from what, quarter one?
Literally, after what I say to you last week, if Green Bay got ahead early, Dallas is going to be in trouble. Not saying they couldn't win, but if Green Bay got ahead early, Dallas could be in trouble. Guess what? Green Bay thought the same exact thing. They won the toss when most teams that win the toss are going to defer so that they can have the chance to get the back-to-back at the end of the first half and the second half. Green Bay chose to receive, drove the ball right down Dallas's throat, and put up 7, and from there it was a steamroll. Dallas had 0 passing yards in the first quarter. 0. There are so many things, and I'm just going to address this.
Are you blaming Dak?
Oh, there's blame all over the place to go around. Dak is just one of many. He's towards the top of the list. My first 2 fingers directly get pointed at Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn. If you want to talk about how bad this game was, people were calling for McCarthy to be fired, by halftime. Shanahan came out and, in his presser yesterday and said that he started preparing for Green Bay halfway through the second quarter. Now, if you want to smack in the face, I don't know what hurts more. I mean, San Fran knocks Dallas out 2 years in a row, and then their head coach gets to make a statement like that after Dallas is the 2 seed and gets knocked out. But there is blame to go all over the place, top to bottom. And, I said this on last night on the This is Sports Zone podcast last night. Dallas got to 12-5. NFC East Division champs and the number 2 seed this year because they used pre-snap motion, 5th most in the league. They played man coverage most in the league. And they go into this game, they barely use pre-snap motion, and they're playing zone coverage. Their first 3rd and long, their first pass rushing situation, their first chance to unleash Micah Parsons and the rest of that Dallas Cowboys pass rush, 3rd and 8. They line Parsons up over to the center, and he has caused havoc there all year long. And what do they do but drop 7 in coverage, rush 4, and one of those 7 in coverage is Micah Parsons? What are you doing? Like, if I'm going to get knocked out, right? If I'm going to lose anything that I want to win, I'm going to lose that game, event, contest. Hell, me and you talk about playing darts, all these different things, right? I don't care what it is. If I'm going to lose, I'm going to play the way that got me there, not the way that I think miraculously is going to change things up. And that, to me, the second Dallas's coaching staff made those decisions, this game was over, which tells me this game was over.
So is it on McCarthy or is it on the D coordinator?
It's on both of them. It's on both of them. It's I mean, you're playing two high safeties while you know Green Bay wants to run the ball with Aaron Jones, and you're playing two deep safety. Offensively, you knew you struggled to run the ball. You don't use pre-snap motion. Then your wide receivers are struggling to get open against a secondary that's really not that good. Even with Jari Alexander back, I mean, still not that good. And your offensive line actually played pretty damn well in pass protection. But your pass rush was basically non-existent. Your coverage was a joke because you went from man to zone, which makes literally no sense to me. But I think it all goes back to this, and I mean all the years I've done these things with you. It goes back to the top. If you're an organization, if you're a business, right? You're not a sports team, right? You're not a franchise. You're a business. If your business continuously fails, you know, I work in sales, right? If we constantly, every year, we're hitting 90%, if my team's only selling 90%, 88%, 95%, 92%, at some point or another, those above me are going to say, what are you doing wrong that you can't get your team to 100%? It has to go to the top. And I've said it for years and years on end. Jerry Jones is the biggest problem. He cares more about money than anything else. He's the only owner with his own radio show. He's the only owner that does post-game interviews after every single game, win or lose. He's the only owner that is constantly in the news.
Not to interrupt, but I mean, Jim Irsay has been making some noise, not just today, but I mean in recent years. So I mean, I'm going to say he's not the only owner.
But has Jim Irsay been talked about every single week of the NFL season for the last 20 plus years?
No.
Okay, that's
well.
The
There's
point
only one Jerry Jones. I'll give you that. You
were going to waste. Look, I understand people knocking Romo. I understand people not being knocking Dak. They each had their flaws. I understand that. But when it's all said and done, if this continues, which there's no reason to think it's not going to. Now, obviously, 8 months from now, 9 months from now, when the new season starts, I'm going to have high hopes again. I'll get all sucked in. I'm like that meme. You
got to have a new coach, though, right? It's got to be with a new coach.
I don't think they get rid of McCarthy. I think Dan Quinn's the one that has to fall on the sword. And I think Jerry's basically going to say to him, Dan, I don't want to fire you. Take one of the head coaching jobs that you get offered. Because if you don't, I am going to fire you.
Is he going to get offered a head coaching job, though? That's the thing, is there's no guarantee of that.
I actually think Seattle is going to offer him a job. I think that with the roots that they have, the fan base has always loved him. He was the leader, he was the coordinator for that Legion of Boom, Super Bowl winning, defensive coordinator, got the Falcons to the Super Bowl.
So the member berries, he's going to, it's all about the member berries.
I mean, if you're a fan, at some point you're gonna hold. I mean, look, if you told me that Jimmy Johnson wanted to come back and coach, man, I'd jump on that bandwagon in a heartbeat, and I'm pretty sure most of Cowboys Nation would as well. So, but yeah, I mean, look, I've talked. I was so upset on Sunday. Amanda looked at me after the game. She's like, "I'm just gonna go in the bedroom and watch TV." I'm like, "That's probably best." I basically did not talk the rest of that day. Had a hard time sleeping, woke up in a crap mood. And then I work with a whole bunch of Giant fans in my office, but then I'm also aligned to an office in Allentown, PA. So I work with a bunch of Eagles fans. So needless to say, I didn't hear the end of it. And it took me till about 8:30, 9 o'clock on Monday night before I actually cracked a smile again since before the game. So I'm finally moving on. I figured this show would be the final nail in the Cowboys 2023 NFL season for me.
Yeah,
and,
let's get off them Cowboys now. So to get off of there, I want to go to two things. One, so an absolutely ridiculous stat that I almost couldn't believe because I was like, wait a second, this franchise has been around forever. You tell me nobody has more than this in all the playoffs they've been to? But I didn't realize that Aaron Jones has now become the career rushing TD in the playoffs for Green Bay. He now has the most career rushing TDs at 6. Nobody
Wow.
at Green Bay has more than 6 rushing
Well,
TDs in
you
the
know
playoffs.
what, though?
And I look back on those on Green days. I look back on I feel like somebody should have had more than 6 touchdowns.
I know, but when you really think about it, you had the gunslinger in Favre, and then you had this gunslinger in Rodgers.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. They didn't focus much on the run.
I mean,
but
that is still very surprising to me.
And then the other surprising stat to me was how close, and this will transition us to the next game here, but how close Jordan Love's performance was to
CJ Stroud. Yeah, it was crazy.
Both were 16 of 21. Love 272. CJ 274. Both 3 TDs. Both a QBR of 157.2. So, I mean, they had almost identical days, 2 yards shy of identical days. That's unbelievable for 2 young quarterbacks in their first year starting in the NFL. Granted, Love's been around a couple years, but he sat first-year starters, making some noise in the playoffs. I feel like this is the type of energy the NFL wants to see because, again, it's promoting their young talent. And, again, it's,
and I think it's a great transition because if we were going to transition to this game, I was going to say, not only do you have those basically identical stat lines, they came against 2 of the top 5 defenses in the league.
Yeah. Myles Garrett wasn't as big a factor. Early in the game, he looked like he was going to be a monster. He was getting in there, he was being disruptive early, I feel like. And then as the game wore on, Stroud and Houston just got better and better.
Oh, God.
And then back-to-back
throws
pick
such
sixes.
A nice ball, too.
And then back-to-back pick sixes
That
put the nail in the coffin.
That was the end of the game. I mean, the first one, maybe you survive. You do back-to-back. I mean, you're literally talking, and they came after a Houston score, right? Like, when that happens, I mean, you basically just gave up 17, 21 points, whatever it was, before your offense even gets a real shot to score points. Like, you just shut down. You, like, literally took yourself out of the game. And I think the Joe Flacco story was fun. To me, it beats out the, Tommy Cutlett's story because of the, little bit longer of success enjoyed, and also
because Tommy Cutlets became a joke. And I'm a Giant fan, and I can honestly say that it turned into something that the fan base could have rallied behind, and it could have been fun for everybody. It could have been Linsanity, and instead became a joke. Instead became, a punchline. Instead became that guy dressed as a Goomba on the sidelines, like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do that kind of stuff. And, we talked with my buddy Brian the other night at the party, and like how adamantly upset was he about that situation? And now he's a guy who is, a NFL
lawyer.
Well, no, but also he represents people for the NFL too. He players,
agent. Yeah. Well, you actually have to have some legal background to be an agent because of the contracts and everything.
Oh yeah, no, and he was. I mean, he literally was talking about how it made a absolute mockery. Of the entire situation, how he should be embarrassed. The Giants should be embarrassed because they let that on the sidelines. You can't tell me you didn't know and see that guy walking through the tunnel and somebody didn't go, whoa.
Yeah.
Dable didn't go, whoa. Where do you think you're going?
Yeah, like nah.
Get up to the booth. Like, get out of here. Like, go sit somewhere else. You're not on the sidelines.
Yeah, like you can sit in the locker room and watch the game.
And that's where, to me, it jumped the shark. That's, to me, where it went too far and became an absolute, laughing stock as opposed to something that the fan base could rally around. And, yeah, so get off my crappy Giants and Tommy DeVito. I just hope they can develop him into a solid backup quarterback. That's all I hope. Because I'm going to say we don't got to pay $7, $8, $9 million for guys like Tyrod Taylor. Let's be honest. Put that money into the line. Put that money into the trenches somewhere. Put it into any other position.
Pay Dexter Lawrence again because the guy's that good.
Yeah.
But no,
Thibodeau's contract's gonna be coming up before you know it. You're gonna need some money for him if you want to keep him around. So they're gonna have to do something. But to get back on this game, looking ahead, I think this Houston team could be dangerous, but they're running up against a really tough Baltimore team. I know we're going to get into that game. I'm excited to get into that game because I think it could be maybe the best game of the weekend. we'll get into that later. Lions, Rams. I don't know. Did you see any of that game?
So I was basically curled up in the fetal position, crying on the floor when that game kicked off. So no, I did.
I saw the beginning, and the beginning was straight fireworks. The beginning was score, score, score. I mean, I think there was 5 straight possessions maybe where they scored. Like somebody scored, whether it was the Rams or Lions. And then the second half just shut down. Like literally shut down.
Yeah, I mean, you get 38 points scored between the two teams in the first half and 9 total scored in the second half. So that is a tale of two halves. And I think, a lot of times...
First half was fun. I got to tell you. It was back and forth. It was explosive. But to see the adjustments both teams had to make at halftime and the way the Lions came out and defended that lead, they get some credit for that. And I got to be honest, Detroit is probably like the team I'm pushing for most in the playoffs here because they're just the most fun. I just want to see the tryhards keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, 31 years since your last playoff win.
Yeah. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Like,
even the Cowboys have playoff wins since then.
They got a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls since then. I mean, shit. But no, I hate you. But no, for real though, I mean, I didn't get to watch much of the game. Some of the things I did see though, afterwards, one of them was Dan Campbell in the locker room, and in front of the entire team, looks at Jared Goff and he said, "You're good. You're fucking good enough for us," and that alone tells you why this team plays for him. Why those guys go out there and give it what they have, why they were able to get the 3 seed, why they've been able to turn it around. When you hear that from your head coach, I don't care what position, but when you hear that from your head coach, especially in front of every guy on your team, and you're talking practice squad players, your training staff, your assistant coaches, when he says something like that, loud and proud in front of everybody about you, I mean, it's got to mean the world to Goff. And I mean, Goff's never done anything wrong to me, and so I'm happy to see him have this resurgence with the Lions after a really disappointing departure from the Rams, I'm sure, from his perspective. But it looks like in the long run, that trade worked out for both teams. Yeah,
but I got to be honest, though. The reports coming out about the way they treated Stafford's family and, like, his wife and, like, they...
Oh, the boo birds and like, some of the crap that the fans did.
Oh, they were rougher than they should have been, and rougher on Stafford because listen, the guy didn't ask to be traded. Like no. He tried hard for that organization too. He was a part of that try hard team, before they made that trade. And listen, like you said, it worked out for both teams. So I think Lions fans need to kind of look back on Stafford as pretty good days. Like they weren't bad days for Lions fans. They always had a chance. You always felt like they could at least chuck it around the field. Even if they gave up 100, you thought they could at least score with somebody. So I think they were a lot rougher on Stafford than they should have been. And for that's the only thing that I'll say I'm a little bit disappointed on the Detroit fans for, because they should have been more focused on cheering on Goff and cheering on that team than they were focused on their efforts on Stafford.
And I think Stafford deserves all the respect he can get from that fan base. He went out there, played hard for them year in and year out. I mean, look, yeah, but it's crazy to think, like, would they have booed Barry Sanders if he got traded instead of retired? Would they have booed Calvin Johnson if he got traded instead of retired? Right? Like, I mean, that to me raises that, like, what kind of fan base are you? Right? Like, and I get it. You're in the heat of the moment, your first home playoff game in 30 years. But no matter what, that man gave you everything he had for what, 8 years, 9 years? Like, he's the reason you own his jerseys, probably. Like, you probably have a Stafford jersey in your closet, but you're booing him. Like, I mean, but yeah, again, fans short for fanatic, and same reason why I was curled up in the fetal position. Like, why a sporting event affecting my emotions like that, and me crying like a big baby that didn't get his freaking toy.
Speaking of curled up in the fetal position, how about those Dolphins?
Yeah, I missed big on that one. I'll own that. I really thought they had a chance, man. And as that weather forecast kept dropping and dropping, and the worst part is, I had my buddy's 40th birthday that I was at, so I didn't see the beginning of the game. And then got to watch some of it, but by the time I got to watch any of it, like you already could tell the game was over. Like,
oh yeah,
I mean, Tua looked
like a popsicle?
like he wished he was back in Miami.
Like a popsicle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing that came out of that whole game is the Andy Reid mustache. I mean, that's probably the best thing that came out of the game. But I mean, for Miami, it goes back to what we talked about last week. Your entire playoff hopes were right there in front of you in Week 18 against Buffalo, and you let them take it from you on your home field.
Yep.
So you suffered the consequences of it. There's no other way to put it.
And they suffered. They suffered big time because it was not a fun day for Miami. They are going back to the drawing board now because they're going to have to figure something out because eventually Buffalo's not going anywhere anytime soon. Kansas City's not going anywhere anytime soon. And if you got to go back to these places and play, you're either going to have to really shore up the regular season, make sure you got that home field advantage for yourself, or find a better way to deal with the cold. Because right now, it looks like that's all they need to do is get sent to a cold weather city, and they're done for.
And let's not forget, Cincinnati still almost made the playoffs without Burrow.
It gets cold there, too.
It gets cold there, lake effect snow. Hence, they had to move another game to Monday because of that type of lake effect snow. Guess what? That same weather that hit Buffalo, that weather would have hit Cincinnati as well. So, I mean, Cincinnati's obviously, what you do for me lately, right? You didn't make the playoffs. Yeah, you were an up and down team all year. I still think they hid something about Burrow's injury because I don't know how a man that's thrown a football his whole life goes to throw a football and all of a sudden just drops it and can't throw a ball the rest of the year. So, but NFL cleared him, so whatever. Miami's going to be a team that needs to be able to win their division. They're going to be a team that, and just the way they're the coaching style that they have, the way they play offensively. Now I will say this: if Miami's defense was completely healthy, they lost their 3 top pass rushers throughout the season, including losing. Was it Leonard Floyd? No, Leonard Floyd was in with the Rams. Melvin Ingram, I believe it was, right? I mean, look, I get it. Melvin Ingram's no longer in his prime, but they used him, they spelled him in for pass rushing situations, and he played well. They lost him 2 weeks before the season ended. They lost, what's his name, against the Jets in the middle of the season. Like, they lost some of their best defensive pass rushers specifically early in the, throughout the year, and if you want to mess with Mahomes, you got to get to him. And that's where they really struggled. And when Mahomes has a lot of time, I could go run routes, and he'll still put up 300 yards.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, though, I think they found something special with the Kid Rice. I think they found their next hill, their next, number one. I think they found that next guy. He seems to be coming on. He came on late, in the year. He's had some good games. He had put up 8 for 130 with a TD this past week. He seems to be the up-and-coming guy that's getting the most trust outside of guys like Kelsey or Pacheco or, some of these other guys, he could be a really valuable weapon for them. And I look at him as what could be the next star for them, and the next guy that could, because they've been needing a Tyree
freaking better. This team's packing their bags and going home, and it's not to host the AFC Championship game.
Listen, this game against Buffalo is a really good one as well because both teams could play in cold, so the weather is not going to affect either team. And they play a similar style of ball where you can, listen, Mahomes has got the better of Allen, but at the same time, like we kind of mentioned pre-show, is it the next, Brady Manning, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We'll get there. I think we got, one more game left to talk about before?
We got 2, but I feel like one is going to take about 2 seconds because we literally talked about it last week for only 2 seconds because we figured it would be a blowout. And though it looks closer on the scoreboard and only a 14-point win by Buffalo, it was a blowout. I mean, look, I think the only thing that to bring up in this game was the complaints about, well, Josh Allen faked the slide and that's how he got his 50-plus yard rushing touchdown. I've seen the replay. He doesn't look like he's trying to slide. He looks like he's shifting his shoulder, which I can understand your initial reaction, and these guys don't want to get, the personal foul penalty. But last I checked, giving up 15 yards is better than giving up 52. Last I checked. So hit him. Figure it out. But, I mean, the fact that they got burnt like that, look, I think Buffalo might be the most dangerous team in the playoffs. I mean, we always say, right, who's the hottest team? Who's hot, right? Who's going in hot, right? I look at, going back to that Green Bay Dallas game, which I really don't want to talk about this game anymore, and I can't help it as a Cowboys fan, but Green Bay had to play their asses off for the last 5 weeks. I think they went 4-1 in the final 5 weeks, including winning their last 3 games.
They were hot.
Yeah, they won their last 3 games to get themselves in. They were hot. Dallas lost to Buffalo, then lost to Miami, and then beats a crappy Washington team. Washington, to me, I can see this isn't college football where you put Alabama versus William Patterson University so they can score 80 points and build momentum going into the year. Buffalo was 6-6. They were 6-6 and ended the year at what? 11-6. So they won 5 in a row to get there. And I think they could be the scariest team remaining. Obviously, we don't know what our bye teams in Baltimore and San Fran are going to put on the table. We have high expectations, but yeah. So I mean, I'm not shocked by this result. I don't think you are.
We don't have to spend any time on this, like you said, because again, it was very predictable. It was what we all thought it would be. Even with the Pittsburgh's lucky the weather was as bad as it was because it's the only reason this game's even this close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear though Tomlin's not going anywhere. He shouldn't.
I mean, look, Tomlin's one of the few names where if you told me he was leaving, I'd be like, yeah, McCarthy, you can go. Bring me Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
I will take a guy that can never finish under 500 with some of the rosters he's had since Big Ben has left. That is just beyond impressive.
And he's in the playoffs almost every year too. They are consistent.
Yeah,
he is consistent, and yeah, the Steelers would be stupid to let him go anytime soon.
I mean, talking about consistency or lack thereof, I think that brings us to our last game of Wildcard.
Philly, as far as teams sliding into the playoffs.
I mean, dude, 10-1, then you get spanked by San Francisco, and the blueprint was out there.
Yep.
Keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket, contain the run, and they're beatable. And the worst part is, over this stretch of 7 games where they won 1-6, including their loss on Monday, and their only win was against the Giants in Philly, where the Giants actually had the chance to win. They averaged less than 17 rushing attempts a game. Yet you've got one of the best rush offensive lines in the entire league, arguably the best. What are you doing? So
they were doomed from the start, though. They came out with a bad game plan. We talked about it last week that something's not right with the Eagles. Sirianni, I mean, could be out, but if he is, I think he gets picked up by somebody in 10 seconds being a Super Bowl winning head coach. I think somebody gives him a chance. Didn't they win the Super Bowl 2 years ago? Oh, no, that was Peterson, right?
That was Doug Peterson.
That was Peterson.
Screw Sirianni, man. I'm not getting I ain't letting anybody give him credit for shit. I can't stand
For some reason, I had him in my mind instead of Peterson, but that's right. Then Peterson left and went to Jacksonville.
Yep.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. So, never mind. This guy's never won nothing, so he's probably out then.
I mean,
he should be out along with McCarthy. To be honest, both of them should be out. The Eagles fans will, riot and mayhem and eat horse poop and stuff if they don't get rid of this guy. And in the meantime, the Bucs, another team, ended the season playing well, did what they needed to do to win the division, have some weapons, and were able to go out and beat up on the Eagles. It wasn't even a game.
No,
it really wasn't. From the first quarter on, it wasn't a game.
This game could have been so much worse if it wasn't for a couple offensive penalties that took plays back, drop passes by the wide receivers. I mean, this game could have been even more out of hand than the 23-point loss that it was for Philadelphia. But I mean, when you look at it, and do we got somebody calling in? No, okay. When you look at it, it just looked like they didn't even care. I mean, the safety Jalen Hurts took, that was one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen. Their effort when it came down to tackling was some of the saddest things I've ever seen. And just overall, I mean, this was just. I think the difference, and I understand why you say McCarthy and Sirianni should both be gone, but the difference is that Sirianni had literally week after week of watching his team struggle, watching his team play bad, watching both sides of the ball not play up to their potential, and never got it fixed. McCarthy still led Dallas to a 12-5 record.
Well, not only did they not get it fixed, though, but didn't they put Patricia in charge of like the defense like 3 weeks left in the year?
Yep, changed defensive coordinators. I think they changed their offensive coordinator earlier in the year. Like,
you can't change that stuff, especially when you're 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way through the year. You can't start changing offensive, defensive coordinators, head coaches, and think your team's going to have success.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Patricia hasn't had success anywhere. He wasn't successful last year as an offensive coordinator in New England. He wasn't successful with the tryhards in Detroit, where Dan Campbell's actually able to do something with that roster. You know, I don't know. I don't know how Patricia keeps landing jobs as head coordinators and head coach. To me, this guy's need to take a backseat. Maybe special teams, maybe like linebacker coach.
That.
For a little while and build back up and get some success first, because right now he's a joke.
Yeah.
If I see him coming towards my staff, I'm shutting the doors. I'm locking them.
Yeah, no.
You're not allowed in.
I'm sorry, new number, who this?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. But I want to make sure, right, like, because it's so easy to focus on the drastic downfall of what Philly went through this year. It really is. And before I go to what I want to say, I just want to add to what you were saying with just the drama with that team. It was caught on national television, only game being aired. Dallas Goedert literally flipping the bird to Jalen Hurts. And the way I described it, watching this game and seeing that and just the overall collapse and the Eagles getting knocked out, the way I explained it was, after the Cowboys lost, I felt like I was trapped in a dark room. And with Philly losing the way they did and the dysfunction in that organization right now, it was like I saw a glimmering light in that dark room. I was still there. Trust me. I did not. If Dallas won, I literally would have been a pig in shit watching the Eagles lose. But it softened the blow a touch. So I do gotta say that. But really, I think the main thing that needs to be talked about from this game is, can we just give some credit to Baker Mayfield and this Tampa Bay team that was literally expected to fall off the earth.
He's playing with a chip.
Once Brady left. And, I mean, Baker was brought in for a quarterback competition with Kyle Trask. Not like, oh, the starting job's yours and Trask is our backup. For anybody that really watches football, you've seen Kyle Trask play. He's not an NFL starting quarterback by any means.
But here's what I'm going to say to you, because I've said it since the dawn of us been doing shows together. It's not where you draft. It's who's drafting you. How do you use the draft picks? There are certain teams out there that know how to use draft picks well. If you get drafted by the Cleveland Browns, more likely than not, now granted they've had some success lately, but if you've been a quarterback drafted by Cleveland, you're doomed for failure. You're doomed for failure. They've had some success at other positions, but you name me one starting quarterback they've drafted that they've been able to produce and have, it's not there. Baker's the closest you've had. They had to go out and trade for Deshaun Watson and then use 3 other quarterbacks this season just to get where they were. Now, granted, overcame a lot more, but they don't draft quarterbacks well. Guess what? Baker was a fantastic quarterback in college. The guy knows how to play the position. But when you get drafted to a team that literally doesn't know their ass from their elbow, like it's hard to succeed anywhere. So he had a really rocky start to the beginning of his career. People wrote him off. Well, guess what? Now he gets a fresh start in Tampa with a Mike Evans, a Chris Godwin. Like, they have weapons down there.
Crazy enough, Evans and Godwin didn't even do much of the damage in that game.
No, they didn't. They didn't. But at the same time, like, he has weapons now. He has weapons that he didn't necessarily have in Cleveland all the time. And he can now play with a little bit of freedom. One, pressure's off. He's now in a quarterback competition. No one's looking at him as a top play quarterback. He was able to focus again on what it takes to be a good QB, and he actually went out and had a pretty good season. And if I'm the Buccaneers, I'm not letting him walk away. I'm not letting him go. I'm probably going to end up re-signing Baker. Why not? What else you got? You tried to draft Kyle Trask, didn't work. If Baker can play and he can sling it, why not get? And he's bringing you to the playoffs, winning playoff games.
And his team.
If this
and
is
his
year
teammates
one
love
with him, if teammates love him, coaching staff loves him, and he's having success, why would you get away from that? Build that momentum. Build it up now. Get offensive line help. Do other things. Get more weapons. Build the defensive side of the ball and start building a team around him. That's what you do. But Tampa was the recipient of a guy who was unfortunately relegated in the draft to Cleveland. And that's where this sits. And that's why I'm not surprised to see Baker having the success he had, because he had that success in college. You know me, watched a lot of college football. I watched him at Oklahoma. I watched him play. Like, I know the guy has some talent. You know, it's who can bring that talent out of him. Well, they're bringing it out of him a little bit more in Tampa. And you know what? I'm here for it.
Yeah, I was happy for him, and just to see him having fun and yeah, to do it to the Eagles just made me really root for him. So
you want to just transition straight to that game? Let's do that. Let's go right there.
Our preview game.
Yeah.
All right, we did every wild card game.
Yeah, we've touched them all. So now let's touch these.
That sounded so dirty. No, so Tampa, Detroit. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to agree on who we think wins this game. And I honestly,
You want to say it together on three?
Sure.
1, 2, 3. The
Detroit.
tryhards.
Oh, I dropped the ball. No,
It's all
my
right.
bad.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
But yeah, no, I mean, I just think overall, top to bottom, Detroit's I think they have a better roster. I think that with Hutchinson at end, they're going to be able to cause some issues for Tampa Bay in pass protection. I do think Tampa Bay is competitive in this game. I do not think this is a blowout. I do think this is a game that will come down to execution in the fourth quarter. And I just think Detroit has a little bit more, including two of the nominees for Offensive Rookie of the Year, even though we both know it's going to go to C.J. Stroud. Two nominees, including a guy who I have no disrespect towards Gibbs, had him in one of my fantasy leagues, but simultaneously, I still thought I don't get the idea of drafting a running back in the top 10. We've seen how it works out in the long run, and I just don't understand it. And it worked out for Detroit this year, unlike Atlanta, who even had a healthy scratch of Bijan Robinson, who they took sixth, fourth. Like, either way, I think Detroit wins this one. I think they're a more physical team, and I think as the game goes on, that run game with Montgomery and Gibbs, and St. Brown, having that play action ability with St. Brown and Porta, I just think top to bottom, Detroit. And that's the thing, and why I sound hesitant when I say this. I think Detroit's just a little bit better, right? Like, I don't think Goff is leaps and bounds better than Mayfield, right? Like,
I'd call it a coin toss between the two.
But so you see what I'm saying, though, right? Like, you look at their receiving cores, like Godwin and Evans, St. Brown, and I would have to really go with Laporta as the number 2 option in the receiving game. But like, I'd lean a little more towards Tampa Bay, but they're like right there. Offensive lines, I'd lean a little bit more towards Detroit. Run game, I lean more towards Detroit, but not much. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think top to bottom, these teams are actually really similarly matched. I just think Detroit, edge-wise, has just a little bit more in their favor.
I would tend to agree with you. Definitely see it the same way. See it as, again, small differences between the two. Toss up at quarterback. I think I agree with you with a little bit better run game with Detroit. I think Detroit's defense might be slightly better against Hutchinson. I think being able to get at Mayfield could be a difference maker. I also agree with you that Tampa is going to make it a game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. And yeah, I think the tryhards keep trying hard at home. This is the last home game they're going to get because let's face it, I just don't see Green Bay upsetting San Fran. We'll get into that game next. But
I'd feel so much better if they did.
Right?
Sorry.
Yeah, you would. You would.
I'm telling you, man.
You want to see the magical NFC North run?
The one Cowboy fan that I work with, he looked at me and he said it perfectly. He's like, I cannot wait till next weekend. I'm like, right? Because once next week's done, all you got to talk about is the games that happen that weekend and the championship games to come. Like, you can move on from the disappointment as a Cowboys fan, and I keep going back to it. So, yeah. But, yeah, we can get to the Green Bay San Fran.
We're both going Detroit, though.
We're both going Detroit. I honestly, there's only one game where I think we're going to differ on picks. I don't know. You seem to love Houston more than me if you want. We can go to that game, right?
If you want to go there next, we'll go there.
I mean, you look at that game, and it's going to be the definition of that old argument. Rest or play? Do you want to keep playing? Do you want the bye week? Now, I understand why coaches and players say the bye week, they want the bye week, right? Like, give your guys some time to heal up. I mean, I get it. But we've seen, I mean, hell, going back to a Cowboys memory, 2007, Cowboys-Giants, when the Giants go to Dallas. Dallas has the bye week. Romo and Whitner in Cancun. They're healing up. They're resting. They're getting themselves, their bodies relaxed and trying to heal up to be ready for a playoff game. And the Giants showed up, punched them in the mouth, and Dallas had no way to respond to it. Right? Like, can you see something similar like that with this game?
Absolutely. But the difference is I think the rest is going to help Lamar Jackson. And that's where I think he's going to come out ready to play no matter what. And I think giving him that week of rest is the best thing you could do because he is the motor that makes that offense go.
Oh, 100%.
Whether it's running, whether it's passing, whatever he does on the field is the difference between them winning and losing. So giving him that extra week, especially knowing how hard he plays, how much he puts his body through, and how consistently he stays on the field doing it too. Because let's face it, I don't see him as like a really injury-prone guy. And he's even a guy who just signed his contract. So normally, like, you have a Daniel Jones, just signed his contract, gets hurt. That's not Lamar Jackson. That's why I wanted Lamar Jackson last offseason so bad. But anyway, I think the rest helps Lamar Jackson. And I think Baltimore is a seasoned team. They've been here. They know what to expect. They're at home. I think they're going to be up for this game. They've now had multiple weeks of tape to watch on Stroud and what this offense is doing. I expect Houston to come out and give it hell. I expect them to come out and make it a game. Would I love to see them win? Yeah. But am I going to pick them to win? No. And that's just because I think Lamar Jackson's too good. I think he's on a collision course for whichever other quarterback, whether it's Mahomes or Allen coming out of the other game. I think it's a collision course as far as they may be the three best quarterbacks, in the league or, three of the top five quarterbacks in the league. And they're going to have to punch each other in the mouth. And I'm excited to see all of that. So as great a story as Houston's been, I think they have a great window for the next 4 to 5 years ahead of them. Before they have to start paying Will Anderson, before they have to start paying C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins and all these other guys, Tank Dell and all these other guys. They have a great window of young talent here that I think we're going to see them back in the playoffs for the next few years. So I think we'll be talking about Houston in the future, but I don't think that future goes any further than this week, unfortunately.
It's actually crazy. This is Nico Collins' third year. That tells you how bad the quarterback play in Houston's been over the last 2 years. Give him the guy that can throw him the ball, and he's a number one. He puts out. So
Tank Dell was a beast before he got hurt too. So I mean, listen, they're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to be exciting, but me personally, I just think the run-ins. I think the rest help Baltimore. Yeah, they've been here, they've done that, and they're ready for.
And I think you look at Houston almost as a Cinderella story, right? won the division in Week 18. Have a huge blowout win against Cleveland in the wild card round that nobody thought they would win. But if there's one thing, anybody that knows the phrase Cinderella team, at some point it comes to the end. You don't actually get your glass slipper and marry the prince, right? Like that's usually how it works. And I think Houston's your Cinderella team. I think the other thing, talking about health first or rest first, playing, this bye week opened up the opportunity for Mark Andrews to potentially play on Sunday. Or, I'm sorry, Saturday. And Zay Flowers is back in practice. So their most dangerous wide receiver and Lamar Jackson's favorite person to throw the ball to. Doesn't really matter who you put at running back for them because Lamar is such a threat at running back that it basically makes whoever the other person that can run the ball a danger. But yeah, I think Houston's a great story. I think Houston's a team that plans on being there with the Baltimores, the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, the Cincinnatis for the next several years. And, if you're a Houston fan, age is on your side because most of your best players are 25 or younger. Sounds like a Madden franchise I'd put together because I just love to put, let me get all the young guys, and you can cheat in Madden and give them, a 7-year contract for, $1 if you want to. So salary cap, even if it's on, doesn't really matter in Madden. So like that Houston has that opportunity over these next couple of years as long as Stroud's on that rookie deal. But Nico Collins being his third year next year, that means that's going to be his contract year. They're going to have to make decisions on him, which you never know, right? I mean, you got to pick and choose where you put the money, and that's where their GM is going to come into play. But that man was aggressive in this last draft. Taking Stroud with the 2 pick, trading up to the 3 pick to get Williams. You
mean Will Anderson? Was it Anderson?
Will Anderson, not Williams. Sorry, Will Anderson. But to have the number 2 pick and then still trade up to go get this pass rusher that's already showing he's going to be able to play in this league. Bold moves, and if you're a Houston fan, you got a lot to be excited about moving forward. But yeah, I think Baltimore is going to move on to that AFC Championship game. Thank God it's not called Super Divisional Round Weekend. Sorry, I'm so happy we're not saying those phrases. So
Super Wildcard Weekend.
I think we both want to say the best game, what we would assume is going to be the best game this weekend for last. Yeah. So I think we hop back to the NFC.
Which game I think we're both going to agree on pretty much. So it's going to be, we don't have to hit on it too hard, but San Fran should punch him in the mouth.
If I can not have to talk about the two franchises outside of our division that I hate the most, I'm more than okay with it. So give me San Fran the win. And
listen, but to be honest, they're the better team on paper. They're the better team on the field. They have one of the best overall players in the NFL, period, point blank, in Christian McCaffrey. They have a top 5 tight end in Kittle. They have Deebo Samuel. They have Ayuk. They have, weapons galore. Brock Purdy, granted, stumbled a little bit late, but I think he'll be all right. I think he'll pull it together. And that defense, they're tough. So I look at this. Green Bay's got to go out west. They're playing an 8:15 game. I just don't know. I think Jordan Love's magic is gone. I think this is where the end of the road is for that Cinderella story. Plus, I just don't see an all NFC North NFC Championship game coming.
Oh, man. Bears and Vikings fans would be pissed.
Meanwhile, we have 4 teams who couldn't get out of the first round.
And
they're drafting in the top 6. 2 drafted in the top 6, 2 couldn't get out of the first round.
So yeah, good times. But no, overall to me, San Francisco, all San Francisco needs to, in my opinion, to win this game and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl is just to stay healthy. That's it. That's literally all they need. They got more talent than everybody. It's arguable they got more talent than everybody in the playoffs, AFC or NFC. But for right now, before we start worrying about those matchups, like Fred Warner stays healthy, Trent Williams stays healthy, Purdy and McCaffrey stay healthy. Everything else, look, Deebo Samuel, yeah, he's very important, but those 4 guys stay healthy. I really have a hard time imagining anybody, at least in the NFC, being able to knock San Francisco off. So. And again, with Dallas out, I will be pulling for San Francisco in general to actually win it all. So I can't believe I just said those words and it's recorded.
We'll get into we'll all right. Well, you'll have to tell me why later. But we can shift over then. So we both got San Fran, we both got Baltimore, both got Detroit. So it looks like there is one game we may actually differ on.
I think this is the only one that has a chance.
Has a chance, but it's probably the best game of the weekend by far. Could be your AFC Championship game. Good enough to probably even be your Super Bowl game. Kansas City at Buffalo. Both teams can play in the cold. I'm not 100% sure what the weather forecast is for this weekend, but I don't think it's going to matter much. I think both of these teams are ready to go. I think they're so evenly matched. I expect it to be a fight down to the fourth quarter. Mahomes versus Allen, probably the biggest storyline. Is it Peyton, Brady? Is it that kind of level? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out. If they keep running into each other in the playoffs like this eventually, but at some point, Buffalo and Allen are going to have to get over that hump, and they haven't been able to do it. So I'm still tossed up. So if you know where you're going, I'm going to let you take the lead here.
I 100% know where I'm going.
Where are you going?
I've known since the matchup got set. This is Patrick Mahomes' first career road playoff game. This is Josh Allen's arguably his best opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't think those are coincidences. Whoever wrote the NFL script before the year started had it planned this way. And I think you see Buffalo finally take out Kansas City. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if they won by 2 scores.
Wow, that's a bold statement. That's a hot take right there because 2 scores, if you're calling it, it could be a 2-score game.
I mean,
listen, I think you're putting a little too much on 10. Mahomes, it being his first road game. Don't forget, he has been on the road playing at a neutral site in the Super Bowl.
They've got no weapons. Outside of Kelsey, they've got no weapons.
The kid Rice has become a weapon. And what does Baltimore have? Outside of Stephon Diggs, they don't have a
big game. What's his name?
Davis.
Big game Gabe. Big game Gabe. Dalton Kincaid.
I gotta be honest. This is where we're going. This is where we're going different because the more you talk, the more it emboldens me to take Kansas City. Because I'm sitting here going, but wait a second, why is he downplaying the fact that Mahomes has won all these matchups? Why is he downplaying that? The Swifties are going to be in the building cheering on Kelsey.
Give me Buffalo by at least 10.
See, I think you could be wrong. I think you're putting too much into Mahomes' first road game in his playoff career. Again, I don't think because of where it is, it's going to be like a home game for him as far as weather goes. Like it's not going to be too much different weather-wise. So that's not going to be a factor for him. And the crowd, you want to say the crowd's going to be a factor? It probably is, but at the same time, he's going to have the Swifties there. So, and I'm rolling with the Swifties.
Are you checking Taylor Swift's PR? Like, do we know she's going to be there? Or we're just assuming?
She was there this past weekend in negative 30 degrees dancing in the box.
In a room with heat.
What do you think? They don't have rooms with heat up in Buffalo? Sure they do.
Not for Taylor Swift. I mean, let's be honest. Taylor Swift can get whatever the hell she wants.
Exactly. She's gonna buy the suite. She's gonna have a permanent residence.
It is scary to think that there is actually people that are gonna buy tickets to this game, spend hundreds of dollars to go to this game. Only because they're there because of Taylor Swift. I mean, the fandom of...
So don't hate on T-Dump.
Oh, I ain't got nothing against Taylor Swift. Me and Amanda got a couple
you better not have anything against the Lorvis
Swift songs. Oh, my God. Okay. But, look, bro, I'm moving from the Swifties. I'm not going down that rabbit hill.
Listen, if you want to root against the Swifties, you root against the Swifties, but I'm going with the Swifties.
Look, I ain't got no rooting interest in this game at all. But
I had a buddy Swiftie in high school.
But the pick I'm making,
I'm going with the Swifties.
Give me Buffalo.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. This is where
not just that. Give me Buffalo, but confidently give me Buffalo. You're not.
But
gonna,
you've been
you're
picking
not gonna. You're
Didn't
not
you
proving
see
me
the
wrong
error
like
of
you
your
did
ways
last
in the
week.
Miami game? Didn't
No.
you see the errors of your ways picking
No.
against Kansas City once?
I mean, I see
You're
the
gonna do
error.
it to yourself again.
I saw the
You're
error
gonna
in
do
my
it to
ways.
yourself
No,
again.
I'm not. Buffalo's going home with the dub.
All right. So last question I'm going to bring up to you. My buddy Timmy gave me this idea earlier. We're going to kick it off here. Third episode of Die on This Hill. We're going to have a Die on This Hill question at the end of the show here. I haven't brought this question up to you before.
Oh, man. So you're going to hit me with one that we didn't even discuss pre-show.
Exactly. Because it's
Wow.
right in front of us. It's been right in front of us the entire show. Do you, yes or no, believe in the conspiracy theory that is out there that the NFL uses, and you can predict the Super Bowl based on the colors of the logo for the Super Bowl emblem they use? So
what's next year's too? Roger said it on what's it?
that I'm not
McAfee's
sure.
show.
I'm not
Green-
sure of next year's
it's
colors,
green,
but
it's
this year's
green and something. So he's
this
like,
year's
hopefully it's
colors
the
line
Jets.
up to be Baltimore and San Francisco. If you look at it, those teams, I mean, you could even maybe mix in Tampa Bay there, but it looks like it's going to be Baltimore, and it looks like it's going to be San Francisco, and that was predicted based on this at last year. So, I mean, I want to know, yes or no, is there any validity to the conspiracy theory behind the NFL Super Bowl logo colors?
Okay. First and foremost, before I go say what I'm going to say, I'll answer your question with a yes or no. No.
Then you're wrong. You're wrong because it absolutely is. It absolutely
But
is.
no,
This goes back. This
they
goes back to the
rolled-
Sports Zone
they-
days.
they
Wait, no.
rolled this
goes
out.
back to the Sports Zone days when I flat out called we were going to have a Harbaugh Bowl. These are the type of conspiracies I talk about, and they end up coming true. It was true that year. It'll be true this year. We're looking at a Baltimore San Francisco Super Bowl. The NFL has spoken.
Okay, just to be clear here, my no is not related to the fact that me thinking Baltimore and San Fran won't end up facing each other in the Super Bowl. My no.
So the NFL is just that good at
my-
predicting the colors?
It's only happened like 3 times. Aaron Rodgers is a conspiracy theorist. Look, I'm sorry.
I kind of like this one. I'm going with it. I like it.
They literally rolled
an innocent one.
rolled this out before last year even ended.
That's where people talk about the NFL script.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
And listen, let's be honest. Nothing stops the NFL
We
or the
have
Shield.
all seen enough football. You're telling me, right, that the NFL doesn't want the #1 ratings getter in the world in the Dallas Cowboys to not be in a Super Bowl?
That's what I'm telling you.
You're telling me that the Cinderella storyline of a Houston-Detroit Super Bowl, the NFL doesn't want that?
No.
You're telling me the sweetheart and face of the NFL and Patrick Mahomes, the NFL doesn't want him there again?
Nope. They want
You
Lamar
are
Jackson.
Do you people hear what I'm
Verse-
dealing with? Do you hear this?
I'm just saying,
This
this
is
is-
die on the hill question. This is the shit.
I'm dying on the hill. This is what I do. I'm dying. I
talked
like
about,
this
3
conspiracy
different
theory.
ideas.
It makes sense to
3.
me. And I'll tell you
3.
what, we're going to have to put it to the
And
test
he
next year
drops
with
this
next
one on
years
me.
logo and see if those are the teams. I don't know what next year's
I told
logo
you,
is.
I know-
So by
I
next
know
show, I will
green-
look
I
it up
know-
and we can talk about it again. But I'm telling you right now, I'm buying into this. Get Baltimore and San Fran according to the logo.
I know green is one of the 2 colors, which means it either would have to be the Packers or the Jets. You think either one of them play in the Super Bowl next year?
Is it that color green, or is it more of like a turquoisey green where it's like a dolphin?
No, it's a darker green.
Darker green.
So like how they have like the purple, it's a little lighter, and the red's a little darker.
Yeah.
I get how it matches up with the team colors, but supposedly the darker color of the 2 colors is supposed to be green.
And then what's the other color?
I cannot. Oh man, you're gonna make me.
I'm gonna make you do it because I'm dying on this hill right now. I tell you, this is what the show's about. Thank you, Tim, for giving me this idea because, it's just what we're gonna do now. But I love it, and I love the fact that we're going back and forth so much on it. But yeah, I love the logo. So yeah, give me what next year's is.
Did they not? I don't know if it's been released yet.
Well, how do you know Green's in there?
Rogers said that it was Green and something. I'm going.
You gotta look up 54 Super Bowl.
I have it. LV. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. It's 4 eyes.
Yeah, you're missing an. No, isn't it IV?
Oh, it is IV. See, I never was good.
Yeah, see, it's IV. Yeah. That's a. Was it middle school we learned?
I don't know when I can't even remember what I had for dinner last night. You want me to remember what I learned in middle school? I mean, Jesus.
None of them look official.
Yeah, none of that. And then like this, right? This was the one where San Fran and Kansas City played in freaking Miami just a couple years ago. Neither one of their team colors are in here. Get the hell out of here with this crap. I'm sorry. I'm not having it. I'm not listening to it. I don't believe it. And if it holds true for years and years to come, fine.
Is it gonna? It could be the new Madden curse. You don't know. We don't have Madden curse anymore. Maybe this is
your team basically guaranteed a Super Bowl.
It's not a curse, but I mean, at the same time, it's just something fun that you can look at and talk about.
Before the prior year's Super Bowl is played, they're like, "Here, we already know who's playing next year."
Yeah, it's the NFL script.
I did love the skits they did making fun of that script thing where they had like the script reading and they had some of the players.
Yeah.
Around.
Was that SNL?
Yeah, some players and they're like, "Oh, come on!" No, like the NFL made a commercial for it. They made a joke out of it. It was awesome.
I don't know if I saw that.
Oh, dude, I can't. That is something that you would just genuinely love. I'll see if I can find it for you as we wrap this up. But yeah, it was hysterical. They like literally are sitting around a table. Yeah. See, it came out August 25th, so before the season
before
even
this
started.
year, so they're kind of making fun of it.
Yeah.
All right.
So they were just having fun with it. So I'll pull this up for you so you can watch it when we wrap this up. But it is freaking hysterical. And what's his name from Key and Peele? He's your comedian in it. But yeah. So look, man, a lot of games. 4 games this weekend. I think are going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm
glad there's no Monday night game. Can we just I'm just going to throw that out there. Very happy there's no Monday night game. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, that's all you need.
If there's 6 games, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, give me a 1, a 4, and an 8, and let's move on. The Monday night game is just dumb. And it's also unfair, right? Like,
and which one of these games is going to be on some streaming service I can't watch?
No. Everything is, you got ABC for the Houston-Baltimore game on Saturday at 4:30, CBS on or Fox on Saturday at 8:15 is Green Bay, San Francisco. 3 o'clock on Sunday on NBC is Tampa Bay, Detroit, and then 6:30 on CBS is Kansas City, Buffalo. So
I did hear that on Peacock they pulled $28 million. So I don't know how they got that number. I don't know where it came from, but apparently $28 million. But I think like the Detroit game pulled like 34 or something like that. So they're missing out on 37.
The Green Bay Dallas game pulled over 40.
Yeah. So I don't know if streaming's the way to go. I'll be honest. But in the same breath, they're going to do it more and more.
Oh, yeah.
Like as seasons go on, you're going to have 4 different streaming services plus cable plus to be able to watch an NFL week.
What was it? 3 years ago when Amazon bought the rights to Thursday Night Football, and people were going out of their freaking mind about it. And now, now a Thursday night game being on anything but Amazon would confuse the hell out of people. They'd be like, "What the hell is going on?" So, I hope it's not the case, but it is the reality of the situation.
I just hope these games are fun.
Be.
I just hope these games are fun.
I think every game is going to be fun. I think the only game that has a chance to truly be a blowout is the San Fran Green Bay game, and the way Green Bay looked against Dallas, I got to believe they're going to at least keep it close.
You would hope so. That's all I can say is you would hope so, but at the same time,
I mean,
I really don't give a crap about Green Bay. My father-in-law likes Green Bay, so I can't say that. But at the same time, like I don't want to see him anymore. I'm good. You had your Cinderella story. You beat the Cowboys and made me laugh. Now I'm done with you. Just relegate yourself back to the NFC North, and we'll try again next year. Let's be honest. If you see Green Bay in the Super Bowl this year, if somehow they get lucky enough to beat San Fran, and then you have your NFC North, NFC Championship game, and they somehow make it to the Super Bowl. I think it's unwatchable. I don't want to see any of these AFC teams face Green Bay in the Super Bowl.
No, I mean, honestly, I think San Fran and Detroit are the two teams out of the NFC you want to have a chance to play in the Super Bowl. Detroit for the story and San Fran for the talent. But
be one hell of a story if the tryhards got there.
That's why they play the games, right? I mean, me and you talked about that Dallas-Green Bay game last week. Like, there's no way Green Bay goes in there to win. And I even told you, like I said, if Green Bay gets ahead early, Dallas is in trouble, but I still think they can come back and win. But I think Dallas wins this game with no problem. And instead, they got smacked out of their own building. So I'm done talking about this game. I'm done with it.
I think we're done talking in general.
2024,
right?
2025 NFL season. I've moved on to that as a fan.
Yeah, now we're just into seeing who makes Super Bowl, having some fun. But as always, I appreciate you being here, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you, anybody out there listening. You got any comments, questions, concerns, opinions yourself? Throw them out there. We'll get them on here. Again, big shout out. Thank you to my buddy Tim for giving me the idea on the Die on This Hill question of the day. Glad we got that in. And till next time, my friend, where can people find you?
Damn, what the hell's my Twitter? I think it's D Hastings 23.
I think it's David Hastings 23.
Yeah, David Hastings 23 on. It's not Twitter, it's X. I keep forgetting that. I'm still not used to it, and I don't like it.
Get an Instagram. Twitter. People have been telling me to get an Instagram. Believe it or not, I don't have one. I got one for my dog. Louis, our unofficial third host of the show, who hangs out here with us, plays some tugs. You occasionally might hear a little whine or two. He's always here with us. He has an Instagram. This guy doesn't. I haven't had an Instagram since Nikki K hacked ours, and I quit Instagram.
Oh my god,
12 years ago or 11 years ago. I've never been back since.
Still rocking Instagram. I don't post a lot. I mean, I've had it for like 8-9 years now, and I think I have like maybe 20 total posts. So I'm a pretty boring follow on Instagram. But yeah, you can find David Hastings on Facebook. Yeah, I'll be sharing the link once Eric puts it up, so this way anybody that's friends with me that isn't friends with him can see it. And happy to die on this hill with you anytime I can, my man.
Awesome. You can find me at The Living Legend on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. If you want to follow Louis, he's at Louis Aussie Dude on Instagram, our unofficial third host in the studio here. And until next time, everybody, don't be afraid to have an opinion and die on this hill.